So last time, which was just yesterday, although it seems like days ago. So last time, oh yeah, that's right. That's why I blocked it out of my mind, because we were struggling with Thymeleaf and trying to figure out how to do the form submission generation of the input of the checkbox input types, all that kind of stuff. And so we were looking actually at this. So we're talking about how it was a bit hard to figure out from the examples in the documentation how to set up the Thymeleaf template so that we could display one checkbox per die roll. Right. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get basically one for each die in the 5 that you get rolled. We want you to be able to sort of click on it and select it, and then hit reroll, and it will roll the ones that you haven't selected. And so it's a little bit flaky, not flaky, but it's a little bit not straightforward. So we were trying to look at the docs, and the docs weren't terribly helpful. I'm sure they make sense once we already know the answer, which is the unfortunate thing about a lot of docs, is that they make sense once you understand it, but then you don't need it anymore. So writing docs for when you don't know stuff is, or writing for people who don't know is very hard when you do know the answer. It's sort of a general problem at all in just any kind of communication. All right, so what we want to do is in here, let's go to our roll result. And so what we're trying to figure out is this thing, right? So we're displaying the roll, but we want to do it so that we display one input checkbox for each die. So roll is going to be basically a list of, I think just a list of string. Or maybe it should be a list of int. Let's go play around with that. So let's go to our Yacht controller. So that's where we're doing the roll results. The roll is basically currently a roll view. So let's go look at the roll view. Roll view. So we're currently just returning a string. And I think what I'd like is, well, I guess it depends. What is dice roll again? Dice roll. The dice roll is a list of integer, so we can probably just return. We don't have to actually do this at all. We can just return a list of integer. So maybe let's try that. So we'll do just game.lastRoll, which will be already. It's already, well, it's a dice roll. So from a dice roll, what is a dice roll? We can get a stream of that stuff. So if we go to, where is it? Let's change this as, instead of from, as one string. And then we'll create another static method here. And this will be a list of integer, which is kind of silly that the dice roll doesn't reveal that, but that's fine. We could probably do an iterator as well, but as list, and that's dice roll, roll, return dice roll stream, and we'll just collect that to a list. I don't feel the need to write a test for this because, first of all, this is visual stuff. Second of all, we're not doing anything in the sense that we're not doing any logic. There's no behavior here. We're just translating a stream to a list. So let's go back here and we'll say, let's that, say as list. Maybe list of. Better. Okay, so roll is now a list of int, and hopefully IntelliJ recognizes that. So we should be able to then go back here. No, not there. Here. And so die is going to be an int and then index of the roll. And so what we'd like is now we can go to our checkbox stuff. So we've got input th type checkbox. Th field is not roll, but I think it's just die. But how does it translate that into a checkbox? Let's look at some other. Let's see if there's some other example. Let's see. That's a th object. It's a little th object. But this one, that's Boolean properties. One, just properties. Difference. That's not quite what we want. Multiple. That's already into a select. Let's go back to the search. Let's see, so this becomes weird thing. So what happens is when Thymeleaf processes this, th field expands into an ID with the name of the field, which is Boolean properties, and then basically marked by the column number. I'm not sure what the 1 is. And then basically this becomes the name so that I can figure it out. So let's do a search again for checkbox and each. We looked at 20 and 21. Not a lot. So those are the only 2 tests that have that. That's interesting. Let's go look at this one again. All right, so I'm gonna have to try something like this. So let's go back to here for a second. Let's go back to the basics of th field. So if we just do th field for an input, basically, so depending on whether it's attached to an input or select, it'll act differently. So what happens is date planted, the ID becomes that thing. The name is basically the same as the ID. And then the value is the contents of that. Yeah, so what's confusing is we're basically doing an iteration. So it's more like this one. Right, because the ID gets dynamically generated, and so we always need to know. So internally it uses the sequence number, so we may not need to do that ourselves. So this is the okay, so the value is basically the label, or whatever the name of the thing that was selected, and we wanted that to be the index that we know what roll, what die was selected. So so that's fine. So we got that as index. Then what we want is the field. The field is going to be what's going to be pushed back on the object that we post. Wish they included the controller code here, because without seeing the controller code, it's really hard to get a sense of what the objects are. So, hey Tramstars, welcome. So what does the controller code? I don't know why they don't give an example of the controller code. Like, you need to connect the two. I always get really frustrated with examples that don't give you like the full picture. Because what's going to end up happening is this is going to do a post of objects, and so I don't think field can be die. I think that's die is basically just going to be the label. So we can right now just stick that in a span. Even though we really should be using a label, I'm just going to use a span because that's the easiest thing to figure out. And that'll just be die. And that's 9. So we can just try this and see what this looks like. So if we go back to the Yacht controller, I have a feeling this isn't going to work because it's expecting basically a form-backed bean. But honestly, I'm really just not sure. So let's try it. So we may get an exception or an error when it tries to process the template, but let's see what happens. So let's go to localhost 9090, roll a dice, and unsurprisingly we get an exception. So it had problem parsing the template. Where it got stuck was die is not bean name die is not available. Why would that be? I mean, that's coming from roll. Well, we did say it was a field. So it's not pulling it the way I thought it would. There is a getter. Well, so I think the problem is it's looking for an object that it can write that this is not coming from this die. It's expecting this to be coming from what was put into the model, and it can't find that because it's not in the model. So if we go back here, and this is why this is a bit annoying to look at, because we've got some entity that's a form bean that on it has properties. So this property is a property of this entity thing, and that's where this properties comes from. So, hey, Dr. Xmazizi, welcome. So this can't be the indexed element, which is what we want. So maybe we don't use this in here. So this has to be the field that's set back. So we need something that has... So would this go back on roll then? Well, it can, that's not going to be writable. So this is, let's say, we'll call this kept dice. And so kept dice will Wish IntelliJ would allow me to just go back to the controller where this is put in. So what we want to do is we want to create, so we'll add an attribute called kept dice. And for now, this is just going to be some object on which we can select something. And they're using it sort of as map. I don't know, we could pass in a hash map and see what happens. It'll basically be string to object. So if we go back here, so now this is happy. I have no idea what's going to happen. Let's go take a look. Okay, well, that's way better. So we've got our dice, we've got checkboxes. So improvement. Which ones would we like to re-roll? We would like to keep these two 5s. Except we didn't create a button for this part of the form. But let's take a look at the HTML, because I'm really interested in what does that HTML look like. And let me flip this over to other side. Let's dock this on the right, because we've got a lot of horizontal space to work with, so let's do that. Okay, so let's go figure out. So here's our reroll form, which we did not create a submit button, but we'll do that. So we've got our text, we've got the span, that's the roll, and then we've got a bunch of divs, right, as expected, because we've got the we've got the th each on the div. So if we look at each individual div, and make this smaller. So what we end up with, well, value is clearly not what we want. We got the checkbox type, great. We've got the ID. I don't know if the ID is correct, and I really don't know what this value, where this. So I guess it must be pulling it, extracting it from the map. That's just weird. I mean, it's not weird. It's not quite what I expected it to do. So if we say kept dice is I mean, for sort of ease of trying to figure this out, instead of having a new hash map, we can create a new string array that's, you know, length of 6 or 5, because there are 5 dice. Will that work? And so this is sort of the downside of writing tests. And so I understand why they're doing this. It makes it very easy for them to write lots of tests without having to write lots of code. But then these don't quite serve one of the things I love about unit tests, which is good examples. So this is very close, but because it's hard to see what this means, because it's sort of in almost, I mean, it almost looks like Groovy or some dynamic language version of Java, but it's not Java. And so we don't quite know what does the form bean look like to know, like, Java doesn't have associative arrays like this. Right? You can't put a string inside of an array. That just makes no sense. So the example here doesn't translate to what we'd like to see. So okay, so we've changed this to a string. I don't know what it's going to do, so let's see what it does. So let's refresh this page. Well, now it's empty, but that's because we lost the state. But that's okay. We're just looking at how the value is really weird. Let's go back. Okay. Yeah, so value. That's not at all what I would have expected for value. Unless it needs to be. So we're showing the right things, but this is just weird checkbox output. Let's go look at the other one, because the other one didn't have this value part. I mean, it should just be true or false. So should this be a list of booleans? Like when I'm trying, where I'm getting lost is like, what is going to be posted and what does that get translated to? Maybe it's, I mean. So let's create a better object. Let's create a kept dice. We'll go and create. What would we want that to look like? Let's create an inner class. I can't believe how much time we're spending on this. This is just ridiculous. So we'll create a private static class called kept dice. And what it's going to have on it, heck, we'll make it public. Say this is. That may not allow us to do that. Never mind. I was going to bypass the getters and setters, but because the visibility of this inner class is not going to be. It's. Yeah. So what do we want here? Do we want here. Keep. And this is. A Boolean array of and we'll create a getter and a setter for it. I don't know why I have parentheses up here. I'm thinking another language. I was writing records there for a second. Okay, so then the property name is going to be. So it's going to be kept dice, but the field is going to be kept dice dot keep. And let's put in a submit button. Button. Reroll. And type is submit. I don't know why I have the value here. Matter. Okay. So let's try that. And let's go back here. Dice. Alright. So now we got an error again. The checkbox field tag processor was having a problem. Line 46. Do I have a different camera lighting? Yeah, I've been playing around with the lighting color. I've got some... I've got a colored gel on one of my lights because I've been trying to dim it back a bit and make it not as pasty white. But I need to do some more tests. So yes, good eye. So 40. So yeah, okay. So it's having a problem here. And what specifically doesn't it like? Yeah. So I don't understand why it's trying to expand that. Alright, what is... Okay, I need more help. Documentations are not helping. So Thymeleaf... We may have to go... we may have to go to Stacked Overflow. Stacked Overflow. Stacked. Or we could look at this... Oh, I forgot the Thymeleaf has their own form. Let's take a look at this. So we've got the each field. Field should take care of checking each of the values in the roles property. Values in the roles. Exactly, Tramstar. Every dev's a data engineer. The job interview was 100% Java question, but you're not complaining. Hey, you know, if it works for you, it works for you. All right, let's see if we can find something a bit more recent. Let's try this one. At least it's sometime within the past 6 years. Alright, let's go look at this, see if this is still around. Okay, so we've got feature as an array. So let's go look at see if this example helps us. So feature is what? Feature is an enum. Alright. So we're checking enums. So how does that come back into our... Which one is checked? So let's look at the controller. So all features is basically that. Move row, add row. Okay, so what does their template look like? Yeah, it's so weird to look at this code because it's so old. Alright, let's go see if there's a better set of examples. Because this stuff hasn't been updated in years. Let's look at... Alright, so this is, we're on the 3.0 master branch. Let's see if this... No, this is what we were looking at before. Alright, well I guess we'll just have to look here. That's the template. I don't see any checkboxes in here. Okay, so here's a checkbox. Well, it's using the 4, great. Alright, so here's a checkbox with an each. So, feature comes from all features. The checkbox, where does this features come from? That must be an object. That must be on the seed starter object. So, our th value is the index. Oh, does that need to be a star? Maybe that's the problem. Oh, okay. Well, that would make sense. That should have been a star, not a dollar sign. So a dollar sign, what it does is it basically converts whatever is in the expression, it converts that to a string. That's why we were seeing what we were seeing. Alright, so let's try this again. Did that build? Okay, I guess we're built. So let's go back here. Let's go back. Nice. Alright. Still getting a 500. Still getting this. Let's go restart. Alright, well that didn't do it. So it's still converting Boolean value. So is this wrong? Do I not need this? Because... I think I don't need that. Restart. The data pipeline you're working on, receive about 2 billion events per day, or 10 terabytes of JSON. Oh my lord. Although I guess that's not a lot. I don't know, it's all relative, I guess. Then you write this into different places about 20 times per event. 20 times per event! So that's 40 billion writes per day. That might be a lot. Yeah, that's data. All right, so we do require value. The question is, what do we put in there? So what was here? Why didn't they require a value here? I mean, it's a Boolean property. So what was the other example? They just had it values entity on, so just true. So, I mean, We could do what I've seen elsewhere, which is basically just that. Alright, well, now we're back to at least something showing up. Well, I mean, come on, anything compared to Facebook or any of those large companies is going to be considered small. Yeah, that's why it's like, I always have to laugh about big data, because I remember somebody was talking about, you know, a bunch of gigabytes of data. I'm like, that's not big data. I can process that on my own machine. That's not big data. Alright, let's see what our divs look like now. Okay, our divs are looking more like what we'd like. We've got value is true, so these are all... I don't know why they're not selected, though. Does the value really matter at all? So the ID and name... Alright, so what we're going to want to do is actually run this in a debugger, because I want to see what comes back. I mean, this really doesn't matter. Let's just say value equals... Oh, so here they do value equals the thing they're getting. So we could do that. So value is die. I'd like this to die. I mean, it kind of... Or index? This is what I had before. But it's keeping track of the index, so maybe we don't need the index. Let's change this to die. And try it again. Oops. Oh, but it needs to be a Boolean. Right, because we're storing Boolean, so it just needs to be basically true or false. But that true doesn't seem to change the checked. Alright, Algebro, have a good one. Thanks for stopping by and with the good news. Oh, trackers. Yeah. Okay, so this needs to be the Boolean value, which means it needs to come from... What I understand is if I take this, like, why isn't it pulling it from this? Which is really confusing because here... Alright, not this example. This example. This feature field is features. So how does that work as a checkbox then? Yeah, all those trackers, I mean, there are laws about, like, information sharing. So yeah, I'd be concerned as well. Still don't understand why it's asking me for a value. Like, why is it forcing me to have a value? Is it because that's what we're throwing into the... Alright, let's go back. That was not helpful. This... Wonder if this repo is still around. Oh, it is. Old. Not terribly old. Well, it is Thymeleaf 2.1. But let's take a look, see if this helps us. So... So, hobby, from all the hobbies, the checkbox. What's with the double? I am so tempted to, like, stop trying to figure out the each thing and basically hard code the checkboxes. I'm like this close to doing that because this is really frustrating. So what we want is we want a dynamic set of checkboxes. Well, hey, at least this is more modern, so let's do this. Hello, Tutu, or hopefully that's how you pronounce it. Welcome. Nice to see you. Or at least I am struggling mightily with dynamic checkboxes for this thing, because I have not done it in a very long time and the docs stink. There, bogies. A good book to learn Spring Boot. These days I've been recommending Spring in Action. I've been unhappy with some of it, and the 5th edition had some problems, but I think it's okay. If you... they're actually working on the 6th edition of that book. I've got a link somewhere in my Discord. Let's see. There it is. Nope, not that. Want that link. There we go. So that's the 6th edition. It's currently in early access, and so one nice thing about the early access is if you get access to the previous edition, which is the 5th edition. You also get to like ask questions and say, "Hey, this is confusing. I don't understand this," and you'll probably get a response because during the process of them sort of working on the book and editing it, that kind of feedback is really, really important. So, so you can start there. One of these years, I will have my own book, which will be much more test-driven focused. But for now, I found it useful. And feel free, if you have questions, ask on the Discord. Try to help you out. Hey there, Lusket. How's it going? Nice to see you. Yeah, okay. So let's go back here. Let's go back to our role view. Not our role view, our that inner class. So this is a Boolean, so that's forcing the value to be yes or no. Which is kind of what we want. So Java streams, how did I learn them? I'm still learning them. We were doing some stream stuff yesterday, and I learned some new stuff. There's a book. Where is it? I'll have to look at. There's basically a book that focuses just on the stream stuff. I don't know it offhand, but if you hit me up in the Discord, remind me there. I will go find it. Tramstars, looking at the early access, they use Lombok. Yeah, I mean they're using Lombok. In that situation, it's okay. Mainly because otherwise you'd have to fill the book with lots of basically getter, setter, boilerplate code. So I would, even in a book that I would write, I would think that's okay. I would just be at some point getting to the place where I'd say we're using it because it makes the code more condensed and less boilerplate, but I would also be like saying here's why I wouldn't be using it in a real project. But I think it's, you know, it's fine in that case. So they have it in risk. So what is their model risk? Oh god. Okay. Oh, that's great to hear, Lusket. Finished chapter 1 of working effectively with legacy code, or WELC, as I sometimes call it. You're welcome for the suggestion. Yeah, definitely a good read. Hey there, Tichu. How's it going? Okay, so I see what this is going to generate. What I don't see is, let's look at their controller. What happens when they receive the post? And I can tell you after I figure this out, I will be writing a tutorial for this because this should not be this hard to figure out. I'm sure once we figure it out, it'll be like, oh duh. But it's been so long since I've worked deep inside of Thymeleaf or have done this kind of checkbox stuff. Oh, this thing on the left, this is called Octotree. It's a plugin for Chrome or Firefox. Very handy. Very handy for navigating source code on GitHub. So Octotree, where is my plugin? Octotree. Yeah, it's free. You can pay for some stuff. Since I don't do a lot of work in GitHub repos, they're pretty much just mine. I don't need the pay stuff, but the pay stuff has some really interesting stuff. Wish they have it for GitLab. Yeah. Oh hey, Specimen. Dark mode for 10 minutes. Alright, I have not yet installed my other templates, so we'll go with the default dark mode. Although we're looking at a lot of GitHub. Do I have to switch dark mode there too? Does GitHub have a dark mode? But I'll switch to dark mode over here for all the good that'll do you. Oh, I guess Chrome has a dark mode, but I don't know. Does that like switch to? Boy, I'm sorry. This is just really ugly. But you know, hey, you get what you pay for. Yeah, I mean, it would have to change the site itself, which is why it would have to be something that's in GitHub itself. So you're not getting full value for your redemption specimen. So we'll keep the dark mode for a bit longer. Oh, teacher asked, can I explain what you have done in GitHub with a fork and commit? Yeah, we'll look at that. I want to get this checkbox thing figured out, and then we'll take a look. Hydrate. I need a drink, not like a drink, like alcoholic drink. This will have to do, but I need coffee. More coffee in here. All right. Thank you, Musket. Okay, so yeah, that would only be for like late night streams or something. That would be a much more expensive redemption. Okay, so let's go back to this form, and I just really hate reverse engineering this stuff. It's just not what I wanted to do today. Okay, so their form action. Oh, that's interesting. So they're basically taking that, which must come from some application properties. Like, no? Why would you do that? Oh, unless they're reusing the form or something? Yeah, they're probably reusing the form, that's why. So they're probably setting action somewhere. Yeah, that's interesting. I'll have to think about that. I kind of like that. I didn't realize. I don't think I realized the pre-processing order of replacement. So what they're gonna you're gonna save up now. So because of the way Thymeleaf processes, right? It's a template, right? So when it's at runtime, it's replacing stuff with it's replacing specific kinds of template text with text it gets from the model. And so it replaces this action that comes from the model. They put in action and said, here's the URL. And then it becomes then they can process it with the at thing, which basically handles basically figuring out what the actual URL is. So their object is risk. Okay. If their object is risk, so this is their risk object. The risk in it has a list of topic. Not sure why they need a converter here. It should just. Oh well, they might need. They might need something. Otherwise, that's the only multiple thing. Okay. So risk has a list of. What the heck was that? That's topic. So wonderful names. Not sure why this is top and this is topic. Oh, but this looks like a single. Oh, excuse me. I'm confused where topic is coming from. Right, so this is from the list of topics, which is a list of string. Thank you, Tramstory. And so they're getting top ID, but where is this coming from? Is it? Topic is the list of topics. So then what's topics? Yeah, no, I mean, ID is the ID of the individual topic, but where is topics coming from? That's what I'm getting confused about. Is that the name of the... So these are all the choices that are available that they want to choose from. Okay, so... And this is part of what makes this confusing. There's a thing that's providing your choices so that, right, because this is request response. So there's the thing that provides the choices as part of, you know, when the browser requests stuff, the thing that provides the choices is topics. So that's what they're looping through. The thing that's receiving the checked topics is the topic field on risk. Okay, so basically, this is where Thymeleaf is going to basically invoke a set or an add to, because topic is actually a list. So it's going to iterate through all the checkboxes that were checked, calling add to the topic list. Hey, do it to Attitude. Nice to see you. Welcome. So this is sort of from the request how the page is generated. This is where it's going to write to. So with that in mind, right? So field is where it writes to, and it has to have all the information of where it writes to. Value is where it reads from. Although, not sure why they take the ID, other than it has to be unique. Unless that becomes an index? Or maybe this is what gets written to the array? Without running this, it's hard to tell. Should I clone it and run it? Maybe I should do that. Let's do that. So I really should stop going back and forth like that. So this list of string. Okay, let's look at the controller when they do the post. But if I can't figure this out from reading the code, we'll actually just try it out. So this just checks for errors. Otherwise, it does a save. So risk is the only thing that comes back. What does risk service do? No, it's risk service impl. Oh, well, it just saves it to disk. Or the database. Yeah, okay, let's unfortunately, it's not doing anything with the incoming data, so we can't see it, so let's go ahead and clone it. Strager asks if it's possible to step through a Thymeleaf template. You can't step through the template. You can step through the engine that's processing it. I've done that, and it is so complicated. I mean, it's not worth it just yet. We may have to, which would be really sad. But it's not straightforward the way it processes it. There's lots and lots of code and state stuff. Let's go grab this. Yeah, that's fine. I'll use it now. All right. The 10-minute counter for dark mode is going to start now because now we're actually using dark mode. So let's go, not window, ECS, get from version control. So that's the URL. Put this. I don't know how other people do it, but I find like I grab fairly often, at least once or twice a week. Well, maybe not that often, but at least once a week, I will grab somebody's repo. I don't know how you all manage stuff when you do that. Like, do you just put it all in one place on your disk? I find that really hard to manage. So what I do is I basically put it under GitHub and then wherever the name comes from, because when you do the clone, you don't get this sort of namespaced information. And so if it just was all one thing and you happen to have two projects that have the same name, then they'd conflict. Yeah, except I don't. If it was purely temporary, then sure, I would just throw it into temp. But usually I keep them around, and then if I really find I don't need them, then I go delete them. Tramster is finally some good looking IntelliJ. JSP is not superior to Thymeleaf. JSP mixes code. You can actually put Java code directly in the template, and I think that's horrible. And nobody I know. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but nobody I know for any project that's been started within the past 4 years, if not longer, would start with JSP. There are other choices. Thymeleaf may be not the best documented in this particular case, but in general, it's fine. And this is one of those things where it's like once you figure it out, then you got it. You put it all in personal projects, but if you like you're cloning stuff and you happen to clone, one project was somebody's blackjack, and then you found somebody else's blackjack, and then you found a third person's blackjack. They're all called blackjack. How do you differentiate between them? So I basically have a GitHub, and then under that I put the person's, who the owner is, and then I put that underneath there. And I don't know why Git just doesn't do that. That would be nice if it did that. Git clone blackjack too. Well, yeah. All right, well, if you're not going to provide useful answers, then I'm not going to ask questions. Yeah, I don't like to put stuff in temporary because then if I actually do need it, then I've got to go move it. Although maybe that's better because I end up with 60 different projects. But again, I have different needs, so I'm special. Because I'm a trainer, and so I'm always looking for code to use as part of training, either as good examples or not so great examples. Maybe I should just maybe you shouldn't listen to me for advice around that. Yeah. All right, so let's see if we can run this. This is always the fun part, right? Will this actually run? Hopefully it's simple enough that it will just run. Okay, it's using Spring Boot 158. That's fine. It's using Java 1.8, so that's all okay. Which Thymeleaf is it using? It's probably using the default one that comes with Starter Web. And that should probably be fine. Yeah, it's 2.1, but I don't think anything's changed for that. So, all right, let's gonna pull in MySQL stuff. We may not be able to run it because, well, let's see. We run their tests. No, of course they don't have tests. Why did I even bother? So this is their converter so they can write to the database, so we don't care about that. Where is their... Okay, so here's the application. We might have to simplify some of this. Let's see if we can run it. Yeah, because we don't have a database running, this is not going to work. Darn it. But we can probably simplify it. We can basically just... Or we can just take the pieces we need and try it on our own. Let's do that. So the pieces that we need are... I don't think there's anything in other... we will need stuff from the model because that's where the risk and topics are, and we'll need the controller. So our controller, let's go, all right, so let's, we're not gonna be able to run this, and I don't even want to actually copy stuff out. We'll pretty much, but we'll do what they're doing. Yes, Rainsberger is in that why isn't TDD everywhere panel. Yes, that will be. I am looking forward to that. If you haven't seen it, we was mentioned in the Discord. Okay, so what we want, let's create a controller from scratch. Call it Checkbox controller. And this is going to be a controller. And we'll create a get mapping that will map to check. And this will be a public string populate form. Not sure what we're going to put in here yet. And then we'll have a post mapping for also check. And I don't think it matters what we're going to do here. We just do void process form. Help if I had a semicolon there. We'll go create a page for that. Stars, you heard even some seniors don't make tests. They say someone else will make the tests. Yes, if they're really old and they've been basically working in the same company forever, and a company has a separate QA team, I've seen that attitude as well. Like, well, we've always done it where the QA folks write those tests. Why do I need to write those tests? Because the thinking there, which in their situation might make a lot of sense, is I don't write tests to find bugs in my code. I just write code. Let somebody else fix it. So that's more of a structural problem. Yeah, I wouldn't use this word summon there. More than we'd like, although I don't know that it's a majority, but certainly that's an attitude I have come across. Not often. So I wouldn't say somewhere between some and many, maybe. Slave creations! Hey! I haven't seen you in a while, have I? I mean, I've seen you elsewhere, but not here. Not here. What am I doing? Oh yeah, I'm creating a page. Will it create it for me? No. Why you know create page for me? It knows what to do. I don't know why it can't create the page for me. Check.html. Check. Check. Let's grab our Thymeleaf header. And checkboxes. How do they even? All right. How much time left do I have on my dark mode? I didn't look. So I have a new redemption flab creations for I think it's 2,500 test passing points, where you get to force me to use dark mode for 10 minutes. I'm not sure it's been dark mode for 10 minutes yet, but we're getting there. And then I'll switch back. Okay, so what we want, and we'll just switch back to, no, not here. Not here. Here. Let's go grab their template. So we'll create a form. Where's the interesting stuff? That's not the interesting stuff. Well, that's interesting. And so we're just going to go back to check post. That's coming from risk. Sure, we'll call ours risk because I can't think of a better name. Next step is redemption for making use of Notepad. No, that would nobody would be able to afford that. God, that would be awful. The equivalent of Notepad would be text edit, and like, oh, that would be awful. There is no amount that you could pay me to. Well, okay, there is an amount. All right. You can Maven a GitHub repo, right? Of course. My preference is Maven. Gradle is okay if you work for an enterprise, but if you want to get stuff done, Maven is a great way to go. Tried using Windows 10 Notepad on Linux using Wine. I won't ask why. I'm not surprised you gave up, but I won't ask why you would do such a thing. Oh, you'd have to pay way more than 5K. I think it would be 50K. A word? Yeah, that'd be 50K too. Hey there, Enlor. Yeah, I don't like Gradle. I really don't. I understand for certain projects, especially when they get very large, the payback of speed matters. So, like, there's a blog post where they wrote up for the Spring framework itself, how moving to Gradle made things much faster. But I think in like 80 to 90% of the cases, I don't think it's worth it. I understand the benefits. I don't think it's worth it. Oh, I should have set my Pomodoro timer for 10 minutes. Jess says you will have 50K. Oh, I'll have to make something else more tempting for you to use your points. What was I doing? Oh yes, I was copying more stuff from here. That's error stuff. Okay, so here we've got our checkbox stuff. So let's copy this. We only need the checkboxes. Let's just grab this. Okay, so I don't like these variable names, so let's change them up. Well, let's get to work and then we'll change up the variables. Cool Wizard, how many points for using Eclipse? Would I rather use Word than Eclipse? I think I'd almost rather use Word than Eclipse because at least I have no expectations. NetBeans, I would be completely useless in NetBeans. I think NetBeans is okay, but I haven't looked at it in years, so I don't know. Flave creations are almost done with your roof. It's so noisy in the mornings and the dogs go crazy. Yeah, dogs do not like loud noise. They do not. Yeah, they're doing tree trimming the rest of, not today, luckily, but the rest of the week, tomorrow and the rest of the week. I don't know how noisy that's going to be. That might be really noisy. All right. I'm going to leave the variable names okay for now. I don't know what it's trying to do here. I'm just going to say label. This can just be top name. Okay, so the topic needs to have an ID and a name. And risk needs to have topics. It also needs to have topic. Okay, so let's go to our check controller. And to populate the form, so we're going to need model. So we're going to do model, add attribute, risk, which is going to be a new risk. No, what? Why? No, new risk. How many points to rate Java between 1 and 5? Java 2. God, pre-generics? Pre-generics? We'd have collections. Would it be pre-generics? What would I write, though? Because I wouldn't be able to use anything. I believe generics came in 5, although I don't know why I'm thinking Java 2. Java 2 was a big breakthrough, but I think generics came in Java 5. On April 1st, I can make a website in Dreamweaver. Hey, I used to use Dreamweaver. Alright, let's put this here. So that goes there. Wait. No. Oh, we need a submit button. Okay, submit button. And here, no, and here. Put that here. Can't even spell anymore. Okay, so we got to okay, so it should find. So we need risk to have topics. Actually, no. Topics comes from a separate thing. So model, add attribute, topics, list of topic 1, topic 2, topic 3. That's topics. So now that's valid. Each topic needs to have an ID and a name, so a list won't work. Get a method. List of topic. No, leave it as topic. List of new topic. I need to create a topic. And so topic needs to have a ID and a name. Then we'll construct that. You know you're old when you've seen Java 2. Yes. You know you're old when you've worked with and sold code with Java 1. You know you're a zoomer when you start with Java 11. Oh, interaction design course. It's going well? Cool. Which one is that? Was that one of the ones I recommended, or did you find something else that worked? Okay, so we got topic, list of new topic. Let's go create a constructor that takes 1, 2, and 3. Go create a constructor. Really? You're not going to assign these, are you? That wasn't very nice. This dot ID equals ID, and this dot name name. You know you're dumb when you stay on Java 8 for 5+ years without knowing you keep installing old versions. Yeah, it's I feel like Java 8 is this canyon, and it takes a little bit of effort to get yourself out of there because everything around you is Java 8, and it's just newer versions of Java 8. You really have to work a little hard to sort of dig yourself out. I use a tool called SDKman that helps install stuff like that and manage it. Okay, so we got that. I really should change my overlay because we're not at all at the TDD stage. I'm gonna do checkboxes. I mentioned I really love this overlay. I am so happy with it. It's been like so easy to work with. I didn't have to write a front-end UI for it. Proxies deployed up on Heroku. The overlay itself is actually deployed on Netlify, so it's all wonderful. So if you wanted to, you could connect to the overlay, what the overlay displays, on your own machine. You can have it of your very own. You could have an overlay on your desktop of what Ted is doing right now. Oh, cool, Wizard, you can't get source code of Java. Yeah, not on the Open JDK. I assume it's out there, though. Probably available somewhere. Retro Java. Yeah, I don't know how interesting a retro Java would be. Let's see. It's a non-obvious name. There you go. That now. All right. So we've got our topics. We've built our topics. Our topics have name and ID. Where's my terminal? My terminal is gone. Oh, that's right. When I rebooted, do I want to update my Z's? Sure. Okay, that wasn't so bad. When you run stuff for the first time in a while and it like wants to update everything. SDK man, yeah. Yeah, I hadn't updated it. It actually updated really quickly. Thanks Pitbull Proton. But now it's SDK man wants me to update. It's like, sure, why not? Oh, that wasn't too bad either. So it's sdkman.io. It's great. I love it. Alright, Dota, see you in a bit. Alright, let's go back to our code. Will we finish this in an hour? Can't believe this is taking so long. Oh. Alright, so we populated our form, we've thrown in a set of topics. We need to create now risk to have the right thing. So let's go there, and then let's go back to our page. The topic, the top.id and top name. It should be okay with that now. Why is it not okay? Got getters and setters. I don't know why oh, I didn't see that. I don't know why it's confused about that. There's probably something we're missing. It is topics, and that's how we're putting it into there. I don't know. Alright, so in risk though, we need yeah, so SDK man downloads it, it puts it in a certain place that's fairly accessible. You can switch defaults, although I don't generally run Java a lot from the command line, purely. But you can basically switch ones, it'll do the right thing. I don't know if it's all for all platforms though. And it's not just for Java, it's for a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, there is an Oracle Java archive page. That does not surprise me. Alright, so what did we need in risk? Let's go back to our page. In risk we need topic. So apparently that needs to be a list of string topic. And then we'll generate a getter and setter for that. And now it's fine with topic. I still don't know why it's not fine with ID. I think we've got everything. So let's go run this. So let's go to our checkbox controller. Here. Oh, so what do we want from our post? So this was the get mapping. Basically, it put stuff in the topics. They put stuff in the risk. And so basically, we just grab the model. Oh, that's the get mapping, the other get mapping. Here's the post mapping. We basically get a risk, an incoming risk. Okay, so let's go do that. And then we can just do something risk. Topic, which is really weird. But we're gonna set a breakpoint anyway. Okay, so let's stop the current project. Did it stop? Oh, were we not running? Okay. Well, and then let's debug. All right, and we want to go to check. Okay, so we've got checkboxes. Those are our topic names. We can look in here and we can see we've got our 3 divs. We've got input type checkbox, value of 1, and ID of topic 1. Now, something I want to try out before we submit. This one comes from the sequence. Is it pulling it from ID? Because that is the value. Is it combining the value? So let's say our IDs are like different. They're not there. Alright, so let's say this is 10. Oh, excuse me. Because why not? Let's restart. And refresh the page. Okay, so this one has nothing to do. What I was trying to figure out is, does this 1 here and does this 2 here have anything to do with the value? No. Value is just an ID. So so now some of this is starting to make a little bit of sense. What I believe will happen now is when we submit, if we say I want 2 and 3, and I submit, I think what will happen is we'll end up with topic being a list of 2 items, and the contents of that will be 10 and 21. That's my guess. I don't know if I want to go so far as say that's a prediction. That's my guess. So let's submit and see. So we do have topic is a list that has 2 items in it, and they are indeed 21 and 35. Okay. So given that, let's do a bit of renaming so that we can make sure we understand this, and we can just go ahead because that doesn't matter. So this topic is really selected topics. So let's rename that to selected topics. Yes, please. And then if we go here, look at that. IntelliJ was nice enough to rename this for us. All right, cool, Wizard. Thanks for stopping by. Nice to see you. Now, this value, let's say we didn't have ID. Let's say it was just, because what we want to get to, well, actually, let's rename this top to topic. Now that we've renamed this to selected topics. And I'd like to rename this variable, but I'm not quite sure what I'd want it to rename to. Okay, so this selected topics gets written to this object. So this object here is mainly as a receiver. So let's call it that. So let's go to our controller. Oh, look at that. It renamed it. Thank you so much, IntelliJ. Still don't know why it doesn't like the ID for topics, because it knows what it is. And so we can rename this class to receiver. Or, yeah, we'll get that. Sure. So then if we go here, we've got selected topics. One thing we could look at is... Okay, so I think that's fine. Let's go back to our controller. That's fine. That's fine. That's all good. We can add these topics in a different way, but I think that's fine. So let's go back to our HTML. Let's rename this to topics to choose from. And so that should have renamed it here. Still don't know why it doesn't like ID here. Curious if it'll do autocomplete. Like, it's showing it here, but it doesn't like it. That is so weird. Another thing we can throw to, if we wanted to make this more complex, which I do not want to do right now. So let's rerun this. Do that, and we'll debug it. Oh, oops. Dang it. Okay. Problem is it did a post, and so refreshing the page, this is that whole post redirect get problem. Okay. So we've got the value is the ID. Selected topics is the ID that gets generated from its name, and then it's adding on its own sequence. This name is where the checkbox is going to be received, and what it's going to populate that with is this value. Now, if we wanted, so that's if we just want to get a list of what was selected. What we want to do with our dice is actually a bit different. So that's this case. The case that we'd like is, and so we'll throw that into receiver. We'd like the IDs of... Oh, maybe we're already doing that. We want actually the index into the array of dice that gets rolled, right? So if 5 get rolled, we want to know that you selected 1, 3, and 5. Although now I'm thinking it might be easier to just find out which dice they've kept as the roll itself. although that might be more about protecting against cheating or something. So let's say we want indexes. So if we want indexes, let's do this. We want list of I guess integer. Selected indexes. Indices? Indexes. Selected indexes. Let's go create a getter setter for that. Let's go enter here. Let's put another div. Th each, and this is going to be oh, I need to take a break. Let me take a super quick break. I'm not going to make more coffee. I think I'm done with the coffee, but I want to get something to hydrate with. So I will be back after this commercial message. So I'm gonna run a commercial. You're not missing anything. When I come back, we'll finish with this. Yes, thanks, Black Caliber. I gotta go get something to drink now. All right, I'll be right back after this break. So here we want we want the selected indexes. So we'd like to simulate basically our dice stuff. So what we want to do is we want to grab from, let's go back to our controller. So in addition to the topics to choose from, we're going to add dice roll. And we want basically this to be a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Actually, so what I'm trying to do is I want to use numbers that won't get confused for index into the array. Since we don't care what they are, let's actually start with like 20, 19, 18, 17, 16. There. Now we won't confuse these with their indexes or IDs of any sort. Okay, so what we're trying to do now is we want to simulate what we've been struggling with from the Yacht game, which is we want to show 5 dice, the dice roll, and then have you be able to select them, and then for us to know which ones you selected according to the index in that list. So the receiver has the selected indexes, and so in our HTML, this is going to be die from dice roll, and we'll have an input. Type is checkbox. What is it complaining about? And so the th field, which is where the data is going to be written back to, is selected indexes, which IntelliJ is aware of. And the value, so before we do that, let's just have it be die. And we'll create the label. The label text is basically die. Okay. Guess we could do the label that way, but I'm going to do it this way. That's fine. Yeah, we don't want to do that anyway. That'll get overwritten. So we'll do it this way. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're now displaying all these dice roll. Where it's going to write it back to is to select indexes. Right now what we're going to be writing back is the die itself. So let's run that in debug mode. And we'll do that. And let's open up. Looks like we didn't leave any space between these two. That's fine. So here's our checkbox. Value is 20 as we expected. Selected indexes, and the label is 20. Selected indexes. Okay. So if we say we selected the last two, or basically the first and the last, what does that mean? So incoming receiver selected indexes is 2. So we get 20 and 16, right? As we expected, because those are the values that are associated with it. What we want though is not 20 and 16. What we want is 0 and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4. So what we need to change in here is this can't be die. We'd like index. So will that work? If we say comma index. So IntelliJ seems happy with that. The question is Thymeleaf happy with that? So let's open up these. Yeah, so here value is, so index is an object. That's, now I understand what that is. Index is an object. So we want index, we probably want a property of index. Do we want index.index? That makes no sense. Well, let's see, Thymeleaf, Thymeleaf each index. So this is the status, not the index. Because it's the iteration status, and that's why I've been getting confused. Because this thing is not the index. This thing is an object that contains all those pieces of information. And so, yeah. So that's why this is dumping basically the toString of the index. This is not index. This is iteration status. And from that, we want index. So this has been the cause of our problem from far too many hours ago. So the status variable. Status variables are defined within a th attribute and contain the following data. The current iteration index. So it's funny, you know, I read this, but, you know, I think the problem is we don't generally read documentation very well, right? Because we're trying to look for an example that matches what we think the solution is. And the problem with this example is it's using odd here. Like, that's the only use of iterstat here. That's probably an atypical usage. I mean, really what we'd want is you'd want an example that uses iterstat.index. Or, hey, heck, this might be a thought. Have an example for each property. Yes, oh my god, that might take you a little bit longer to write. But, wow, that would have cleared up a lot of confusion on my part. Okay, so I think this is going to be what we want. So let's stop it and restart it. Let's go here. Okay, so now if we look at this one, indeed value is 0, here value should be 1, 2, and so on. So if we select the first one and the last one, we should expect 0 and 4. And indeed we have 0 and 4. All right. So, I mean, this is good, because now what we can do is we can go into our roll results, and we can simplify this, because really what we want is, this is not index, this is iteration status. And our value here is basically iteration status dot index. And IntelliJ knows what it is. And so there's also an issue from a troubleshooting standpoint. If it had displayed, so a lot of times the toString that gets generated for an object will have the name of the class in front of its contents. Whereas here we were just getting a display of its contents, and so it was confusing to me where it was coming from. If it had displayed iteration status and then the contents, that would have helped me much sooner to realize what my confusion was. Okay, so this is where it needs to write in which ones we've kept, and this just needs to be. Right now, this doesn't need to be as complicated as it's currently set up to be. So let's go back to here. We don't need this. Keep. And so what we want is I mean, we can pass in an empty list. Will it know what type it is? It may not know its... well, we lose its type anyway. Yeah, so we can just say empty list. Come on. And when we receive it back, it will do the conversion to the right thing. Okay, so this is the get. Did we write a post? We wrote a post for select category. We didn't write a post yet. Let's do that. So we want a post mapping for reroll. Which we also forgot to add to our page. We didn't add this. We have the submit button, ph action. Do we want to hyphenate in there? Sure, why not? That's actually fine. So this is re-dash roll. This is funny. It's like I see so many different styles of naming these web pages. Like for roll result, would that just be roll result all one word, or would it be kebabbed, which is you put dashes through it? I've seen occasionally camel case, but that looks really weird for a page. Because you may be concerned these days. We may still be concerned with file name case or something like that. So I might change this to like a dash, but because that's actually what I have is the name of the file. Although this does demonstrate that this doesn't have anything to do necessarily with that. All right. So here we're going to do a redirect. So this is reroll. We don't get a model. I mean, we could get a model, but really all we want is a list of integer. I'm not sure that's going to be enough though. How is it going to know? How would it know it's a list of integers? That's interesting. I don't know how it knows how to convert that thing. Because so far we've been converting it to strings. Was the selected index that we were doing... yeah, it's a list of integer. How did it know? Because you lose the generic typing. I don't know. Let's do that. For now, we'll just do a system out of that. And then we'll basically just redirect back to roll result. Because that's eventually what we're going to want to do anyway. So a post, eventually we'll do something as a part of this, and then we'll come back to the roll result, and then we'll see the new dice. That's where it's going to get tricky. But yeah, all right. So let's rerun this, and we can close. Well, let's keep this open, but now we don't go to check anymore. We just go to here. We roll the dice. What did we mess up? Thought we had it. We must have left this in this somewhere. Oh wait, no, actually it does need a form because it needs to do a set on that container. So we need a container for that. Right, so we can't just do this. Well, actually this is just totally wrong anyway. We need something for it to store it in. We can't just use an unnamed thing, right? Can we say that? It has a place to write it into. I mean, IntelliJ is fine with it. Alright, so what did it generate for the form here, for the reroll form? So we've got a checkbox. Its value is 0. Its ID is 1. So this value should be 1. And so on through 4. So let's say we selected the 4 to reroll. Because we'd be trying for a full house. Because I don't want to select multiple ones. Select this 3. So that should be 0, 0 and 3. Let's re-roll that. Did we set a breakpoint? Oh no, we just said we're going to print it out. So we print it out. Yeah. So I was kind of suspecting that this wouldn't quite work because it doesn't know what to do to hand in a list. So the way we did this, it doesn't know how to construct something that fits this. So really what we need is we do need basically a form object to receive the input from the form. So let's go create that. Static class keep. And this is going to have, this will have the list of integer of selected of dice index indexes to and we'll create a getter and setter for that. And then we should be able to have that here, which is keep. And then what we send here is basically just a new keep. And then this is keep dot that. Okay, try this again. All right, so let's go back home, roll our dice. We want this one and this one, so we want 1 and 4. Okay, so everything was displayed, came back, so it at least no errors. The selected dice to keep though is null because it's not keep, it's keep dot the thing because we now made it a container. So it's not keep, it's that. So let's rerun it. Go back here, roll dice, this one and this one, re-roll, and here we see what we've been trying to get for the past 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours? Yeah, 2.5 hours. Almost 2.5 hours. Oy. It really should not have taken that long. I think so. I think part of the problem is my mental model for how the TH field stuff works was not quite right. First of all, I haven't, other than sort of copying and pasting stuff recently, I haven't done a lot with Thymeleaf in quite some time. So it's one of those, use it or lose it. Use that knowledge and make it available to you, or you lose it and you have to go sort of rediscover it. And I don't think my mental model was all that great anyway. Or it was a different mental model, and I don't think it was as good as the mental model I currently have, where this is basically, where am I going to write, from Thymeleaf's standpoint, where am I going to write the ones you've selected? Right? Where am I writing the input? And while it's fairly obvious for text fields what that does, for checkboxes and radio buttons, it's a lot less obvious. Then my other mental model was, or I had no mental model for what this was, and the mental model I had at the beginning of this stream was that this was an index that was simply a value. And the reason why my mental model was that way is because the more recent iteration type of stuff I've done with HTML is actually Vue.js. And so there, it is actually an index. So, yeah. So that's why I was kind of confused. Okay, but now it works. Now what do we do? I feel like I want to write a blog post about this. Okay, but now that we got because the whole reason we started doing this is because we needed to figure out, in order to start doing the TDD, we needed to figure out what are we getting from the front end, right? In a sense, what is our API? So right now, our API is we get a list of selected dice to hold on to, and we want to re-roll the rest. Which is going to cause probably a whole bunch of shifted or restructuring of our code, which is totally fine. The question is, do I want to try to get that started even though we've got like 20 minutes left? Or we could just call it and say with success because we figured out how to use the frickin' checkboxes. Because the other thing is like, so this is one way we can do it, right? Where we get the ones to keep. I think that makes the most sense, but it's not the only option. Another option would be... Why are you checking for updates? You checked for updates yesterday. Go away. what was I saying? Before I got interrupted by Microsoft Auto Update. So another option is we could send in the indexes to reroll. And a third option is we send in the actual dice value for those to keep. Now the problem with that last option, I sort of mentioned it in passing before, is that you could cheat, right? You could, because I would have to verify, were those rolls actually in your dice roll? Or did you just say you want to hold on to 5 6s? You know, or 3 6s and 2 5s or something like that. Or you wanted to hold on to 4 6s because you had 1, but not really. So you could be lying about what you're holding on to if we return the dice. And we could then do validation, but I think the indexes are probably easier because then you can't cheat. You're sending us indexes, we know what the dice are. So I think that makes sense. And then it's a question of really between the two choices. Do we send the indexes of the dice that you want to keep or the index of the dice that you want to re-roll? And I think from a UI standpoint, if we do, you know, any kind of fancy coloring or CSS, basically turning the dice into buttons, they'd basically, you know, all be sort of unhighlighted, and you'd select the ones you want to keep, and those would be highlighted, and then the rest would re-roll, something like that. So I think this makes the most sense. So now that we know what we're going to get from our front end, right? So we've defined, right? We started this yesterday with outside in. We know what our client, right, our actor is going to need, and so now we know what that's going to send in. So therefore, we know what we're going to get from the controller. We know we're going to get some object that looks like keep. That's going to have this, and now we can start from here to start writing some tests. Let's go. Am I going to be live again tomorrow? Yes, I should be. Yep. So let's go back to our README. We basically got just this done. I guess that's something. Shouldn't have taken that long. Okay, so we got that. We get a list of the index. I know some people say indices, like that's technically plural, but these days I think most people write indexes of the dice to keep. And the nice thing about this is, for example, if they, like, it feels a more active thing to say, to sort of positively select, I want to keep this one, this one, this one. Because you're thinking of like, well, I've got, you know, 2 6s and 2 5s. I want to keep those because I know I'm going for a full house. So that just it feels more natural. So that's that. So next is going to be process that reroll. And that's basically this. So we'll process a reroll, which will be interesting. We'll basically do a new roll, except we're not rolling all new dice. We're gonna have a starting point of some of the dice are already provided, which is just gonna be a totally new functionality. So I'm gonna end a bit early because I don't feel like I want to start that at this point. But you know, if you want to ask about something, now's your chance. Well, at least, hey, you know what? At least we can drag this over to done, and we get a little confetti. We get something. And so then we're back to this. Yeah. Alright. I think we're done. Can we commit? Actually, I haven't run my tests. Can we commit? Because we're in an... okay state. Like, we still have the functionality of not working yet, but we could. Let's run all our tests. Oh, right, we changed dice roll. Oh, good, we caught that. So, this roll, right, so this is a test from our web test, so I'm glad we ran all of these. And we've changed that, right? It's no longer returning a string, it actually now is returning... I guess I should have changed this test then, I forgot that I had this test. But what we're changing it to is the roll is no longer going to be equal to this string, it's actually going to be a list of 31415. And so now let's rerun this test. This test. And now that's fine. And so now let's rerun all the tests. Okay, cool. So now all our tests pass, so that means we can actually go ahead and do a commit. What I don't want to commit is this code we were sort of playing with. That, and that. What did we change? That was just a move. That was a fixed test. So now, in the web UI, the dice roll is now put into the page model as a list of integers instead of single play ring. Roll results page now has a list of dice rolled with associated checkboxes that we'll use for roll purposes. What did I change here? Oh, that's a guy change. That part of that change. Part of that change. I think that's done. We can commit that. We'll go ahead and push this. And I think we'll call it a day. So tomorrow, we'll basically pick up where I hope we would have been much earlier today, which is now we can start digging into TDDing, actually TDDing, the change in functionality of being able to re-roll some of the dice. Now that we know what now that we have our UI, that works, and we know what we're going to get in, now we can take that information and start TDDing down at the lower layers. All right. Well, that was more effortful than I had hoped. All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in, for hanging out, for chatting. Appreciate it. I really do. It makes this so much more interesting to me and hopefully enjoyable for you. And so tomorrow we'll pick it up where we left off, and I will see you then. Be strong.